and even as we talk about the COVID-19 and the effects it has, let me just sample a few of your feedback on Facebook. We remember we are live there, so I'm seeing feedback coming in even as we continue with this morning conversation. Let me start with Frank Nakweba saying, good morning, watching live from Dubai, UAE. Masingwa Duine Tachio saying, good morning, Kenyans, watching live from Keroka, Kisii. We have someone from, this is Victor, watching live from Nyariacho in Nyamira County. Kevin Oliseno, morning, we are watching live from Isecheno Village, Tukombele pamoja na Kelly wa Luvili. All right. Joshua Munguru Ismail anasema kutoka Kisii, Nyatieko Milimani Kinyozi watching. Kolos Skonto anasema good morning, watching live from Nandi. I'm seeing Winnie Oruko anasema good morning, watching live from Homa Bay County. Patrick Kisali watching from Pangani. Margaret watching from Muthaiga. Pato anasema good morning, watching live from United States of Islando Massive. All right, so these are just a few of the tweets coming, of the comments coming in on our website, www.kbc.co.ke, on our Facebook page at KBC Channel 1, on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. Tag me at Ramaguko, at Jane Oboy, at Ray Manyara, and at Doreen Arange. Well, the viewpoint continues, and this morning, in terms of the coronavirus effects on the economy and on different aspects, I would like to focus on legislature. Remember, there are three arms of government. The legislature also has been affected by the COVID-19. In as much as, yes, the executive has been putting its best foot forward by being led by the president and also the Ministry of Health to keep Kenyans updated. But now, how is legislation being affected by this? This morning, to put this into perspective in how our members of parliament are doing, I'm joined by Honorable John Mutunga, Member of Parliament, Tigania West. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Ram, for the invitation and for the opportunity to contribute to this debate.
Karibu sana. And let me correct something. Honorable Dr.
Yes, thank you so much. That's my correct reference. Let me first of all start by sending a message of condolences to the family of our late brother who lost his life yesterday from Makueni. Honorable Kilo, we lost him, and to the family, we are with you. We pray that the Almighty God gives you strength this time. Yeah, it's a very difficult time.
In regards to that, the president and the deputy, together with so many others, they sent messages of condolences to the family.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, Honorable Peter Kiilu, Member of Parliament, former Member of Parliament of Makueni, who passed. They were saying that, even the president said that he eulogized him as a friend and seasoned public administrator who served the nation and people of Makueni with distinction.
Yeah, that is a correct description of the of Kilo. Now, about Parliament.
Yeah. Before we talk about Parliament, I would like to start of all by this. There are a lot of issues being brought by the pandemic when we talk about legislative approach. This arm of government, legislature, and we're talking about Parliament, you have been very, very busy, crafting ad hoc legislation to give legal effects on those directives. How has it been legislating during this COVID-19 pandemic?
The Constitution, specifically Article 223, allows government to spend money in the event of an emergency, among others. But that expenditure is brought back to Parliament for purposes of putting it into law. And what happened when we started having cases of coronavirus infection, the executive took the decision to, first of all, create the National Emergency Response team that has been put in place to look into ways and propose policies that would lead to containment of the spread of the coronavirus. So what happened is that several decisions were made, and even money was used. And what Parliament does is therefore correct that by putting it into law, because we need to operate in the context of law. So there were several pronouncements made by the president in terms of the tax laws. You did quite a number of tax changes in the tax regimes, and this needed to be put into law.
And even as we talk about all these laws, how has it been, trying to move into Parliament during all these sessions, trying to pass laws? How has it been for you?
You see, social distancing, initially, remember, there was a lot of hullabaloo. So many members of Parliament are sick, and we had the members of Parliament tested, and we don't know who actually...
People accuse you of members of Parliament of being positive of COVID-19.
Yeah, we had 17 members. There was a report that 17 members were sick, and I actually do not know a single member of Parliament who was sick. I personally was tested, and I got my results, just as probably everybody else did. And some of the people who are even listened, we have talked, and they don't know, they don't remember having been sick anywhere. The scare, the COVID-19 scare is real, and it is a new thing to everyone across the globe, and we have seen impacts in some of the very strong countries. And what Kenyan parliamentarians did was, first of all, to stop the sittings, and then arrange on a mechanism of trying to ensure that there is social distancing. Like the main auditorium, the chamber, the main chamber where we normally sit, which can seat both houses, can only contain 70 members at the moment. Because when the public health came and assessed the arrangement of the seats and the possibilities of spread of the virus, if somebody is infected when you are probably making a statement on the floor, then they realized that there is need for quite some distancing. And they have marked the seats, so we can only fit 70 members in the House.
And at this point, it is important for me to note that, remember, KBC Channel 1 normally broadcasts these live parliamentary proceedings right here as they happen. Yes. And as we've been broadcasting it, I noticed that, as you said, that the seats are marked.
They are numbered.
Actually,
numbered. Right from the entrance, even the floor is marked where the member stands. You stand 1.5 meters away from the other as we wait. And then we are managed through. You sign in, then you walk slowly as you are ushered into the seats. The others wait along those marked points of standing.
But then how do you ensure that, you all get equal chances to be able to get into the House and pass bills?
There is always some guidelines given by the Speaker the day before. If the sittings, by the way, the sittings were reduced to only 1 day in a week.
1 day.
That's on Wednesdays. Right now we're on recess. We're on the budget making process recess. But when we were going for 1 day in a week on Wednesdays. So by Thursday, the business of the House the following Wednesday is released. And then everybody is requested to now decide whether they want to go for the morning session or the afternoon session on both. And rarely will you find, unless you are a chair of a committee which is transacting business, for instance, when we are doing the tax laws, the committee on finance and the committee on budget and appropriation were very key. So in this case, they were actually possibly, sitting both morning and afternoon. But what happens is that you choose which session you want to sit in, and then we start voting on Friday at 1. For the following week, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
You're in the committee on in the budget committee and
yes, the committee on agriculture.
Committee on agriculture.
Yes.
So, have you had chances where you made your submission that you're going to sit, but you missed out?
Yeah, once. I think the very first one, I tried, and I think I was a little bit late, and I think I was skipped. Because it's on a first-come, first-served basis. First of all, they take care of the House business, the leadership of the House, and then I think the first 10 to 15 slots are taken away. Then the rest are as per when you voted, when you basically chose to participate. If you participate late, then you are likely to be among those people who will be locked out. The Parliament is structured in such a way that the entire dining area and the lounges and even the VIP lounge for the members has been transformed into a sitting area. Plus, they have also put a few tents outside, and then they are all, served with the TVs where you can easily monitor TVs where you can monitor the business in the house.
Okay.
However, those members who are seated within the house have got the greatest advantage to participate in the debates. Since we did that, I think I've been able to sit twice, and I missed one because I was away. So it is possible, actually. I think it is on a priority basis, depending on the business itself and depending on when you try to secure the position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so it has not been easy because you realize that only 70 members can very actively participate in a debate. The others have got an option of participating from outside. The VIP lounge is set in such a way that there's a television there. There's a camera where you basically can give your contributions.
Also, they can participate also from the
yes,
lounge.
From the VIP lounge.
From the
yes.
VIP lounge.
Yes.
And let me just briefly touch on this because you're in the agriculture committee.
Yes.
We have a current problem. Yes, the COVID-19 is there.
Yeah.
But we have floods. We have locusts there. How far are we also in addressing this, even as we are addressing the pandemic?
Locust came in earlier, much earlier, and there were mechanisms for responding to locusts. First of all, as a country, we've been having a center at Isiolo, which is a desert locust control center that has been monitoring the swarms of locusts, occurrence of these swarms and the direction they are moving, the direction of the wind, and how they are also, So when the first swarms crossed over through Mandera, they were able to know. So we started seeing desert locusts from the north spreading to the south, around Isiolo, around Garissa, Mandera, around Kenya region, and then they crossed over. Laikipia and Samburu have been seriously affected because they've been there for quite some time, the Baringo area and so on. Right now, the locusts are moving towards the north, towards Sudan, because of the changes in the winds and also, I think, the ecological systems.
The climate?
It's basically ecological changes. You see, we are moving on with the weather changes.
Yes.
When weather changes, the direction of the winds changes.
Yes.
That affects the movement of the locust swarms.
So should we expect that it will, in turn, also help in reducing the number of locusts, in terms of the effect itself?
For the time being, there is no great worry because they're moving out of Kenya. However, we have a second and third generation locusts, those that have already been, they have laid eggs, and these eggs have hatched into nymphs and they're moving into becoming locusts. That has been an issue. There has been serious monitoring. What I would like to launch is a concerted effort between the government and the private sector. The private sector actually was in the front line to partner with the government to make sure that at least locust monitoring and also the spraying is done. Initially, there were issues of the chemical not being very effective and looking for the chemical, importing the chemical under very stringent timelines may have affected us a bit, but finally we got some chemical from Japan and it has been working very well. And the locust is more or less it's an issue that right now is being contained very well. Now came in the COVID-19 and also the floods. Floods this year, that was very serious because it requires a lot of crisis response and the level of resource demand has been very high. So a lot of attention needed to be, especially on the floods, because very many people have lost their livelihoods, we have lost lives, we've lost infrastructure and many other things, and then it's a major issue.
There are people who have been relocated, who are, relocated
along the flood lines, yes.
Even like Victoria, thousands of families have been displaced. Many left homeless. What is the way forward, even as we are addressing that? What
basically happens, I think there was a cabinet meeting and decisions were made to allocate some resources to the Ministry of Agriculture to try and respond to some of these issues using the county infrastructure, because most of the agriculture is done at the county. Since it's a major, one of the mainly devolved functions, then we have had counties doing what they can in terms of salvaging, the lives. And also in terms of salvaging the livestock, the crops, and so on, and then the land itself. When it comes to response to the livelihoods and the lives of the people and so on, there has been effort. to ensure that at least there is identification of the areas where we have had serious impact, where we have landslides, and roads being completely blocked. I was in Meru that last weekend, and I tried to drive through one of the roads I did not know.
It was impossible.
Only to find that it is blocked, and I decided to see exactly what the problem was. This road passes just near Mount Kenya, from Meru to Chogoria, and I found the whole section had been washed off. The size of the logs that were brought from the forest are so huge, so it will take serious landslides, and then the whole of that valley now is affected. So there is a lot of effort required and a lot of resources required, and the speed of resolving this is really, speed of essence. Time is of essence because people are suffering.
Yet at the same time, we need to divide our resources, our budget to address all these issues.
And then came COVID, which basically brought down the level of resource, the revenue collection. Of course, the revenue in the country is affected significantly. We are likely to resort to a lot of borrowing this year to support the next year's budget. There was also the supplementary budget, which came, and which was passed by the Parliament to try and respond to some of these issues, which had some provisions to address the COVID issue, and to try to also rationalize and sanitize some of the decisions made during the crisis moment.
But not Dr. Mutunga, in regards to that, on the same breath, is taking a loan going to be the best move for the country? How, do we have any measures that we can put, to resuscitate the economy?
How I wish we could actually stop taking loans. There are very few options. One of the options is liquidation of resources, of assets. We have a few assets which you can sell. We have investment in some of the businesses like banks, and state corporations have also, invested. We have infrastructure, or, we have investments in various, in housing and others, which the government can actually sell, and they probably cushion the debt. Unfortunately, that takes time, and when we have a crisis like COVID, property does not move fast, and if it does, it moves at very low prices. This is the wrong time to sell any property, and you will not get a lot of interest. Plus, there is this emphasis that people should try and save the little money they have, because you don't know how long the COVID is going to be there around us. That is a misplaced analogy. So it's a serious thing. That's one of the ways government can raise revenue. The other way is government being, that one does not seem to be one of the options that is considered. The other one is actually trying to contain the spending, scale down the spending. It is possible to reduce spending by, of course, reducing some of the investment projects, and reducing the unnecessary things. Like when it came to contribution, what the Parliament did in terms of their contribution, we decided to do away with all our travel, whether internal or external, and we have saved a lot of money and given that money to COVID. So those are some of the things that could be looked into, because in any case, the entire world is locked. There's nobody who is traveling. Why should you have money for traveling and accommodation? I mean, you should not be having some.
Speaking of money, there is no money on the ground.
I agree with you. There's no money on the ground, and I had an opportunity to watch Dr. Kithure speaking about the response and so on. And I would like to say that on the ground, those responses are not sufficiently felt. When we say that they are sufficient in terms of the efforts that are being made, it's sufficient, I think we need to interrogate that particular statement, because if you go across the country, people are still expectant. People are expecting a lot from the government. The government enforced wearing of masks and social distancing, and that has been an issue, especially during the first few days of enforcement. People were arrested and thrown in because they were not wearing masks.
You had said that some villages, I think it was in Meru, you said some villagers were sharing face masks. You said those going to the market were borrowing face masks from those who are at home, because they want to avoid being arrested by the police. And people are found, sharing these face masks within, and other things, including Mira, cigarette, salt, and farm produce. And I'm aware that you bought over 2,000 to 25,000 masks from your own fund.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that the CDF, national government CDF, is not relevant when it comes to responses to emergencies that are not school-related or security-related. So zero, nothing from CDF. Secondly, there was need for people to respond quickly because our people are being arrested and there were calls from all over that we need to come in. And the national, let me say, the parliament has not been actively involved in the response initiatives. We've not been implementing most of those. The county government is working with the national government to try and structure out some response initiatives. Again, the member of parliament in any given constituency is considered to be the source of all support and help. And therefore, we have to go out of our way to look for ways of supporting them. I want to thank the government for one thing. They are providing a bit of sanitizers. We've been getting sanitizer from Kenya Petroleum Company and got 600 liters. But already, people are demanding for sanitizers.
But what about you as a member of parliament? People have voted for you. How are you also, putting your hands on the ground?
Physical presence is very important. This physical presence is also curtailed by the decree that we should not have more than 50 meetings of more than 15 people. A member of parliament passing through his constituency, especially like, for instance, if I pass through my constituency, at any one time, everybody will come. People will come and we'll have a meeting. You don't really need to call for a meeting.
What are you doing to help people on the ground then?
It has been very difficult. So what we did is mobilize resources. I did, as a family, we contributed about 750,000 and bought 25,000 masks distributed. Then I called upon my friends who contributed some more money, and we bought some more 6,000. So we distributed that 1,000 masks. They also demanded for sanitizers. You see, any initiative happening at the national level or in Nairobi must permeate to the ground for people to feel properly taken care of. So if we can't tell them to wash their hands and people are using sanitizer, they want to feel the sanitizers even themselves. So what we did is that I had to come up with a way of making sure that we get them some sanitizers. Bought bottles, I think 3,000 bottles for small ones for the motorcycle riders because they're handling cash. And also I bought 1,000 slightly bigger bottles, which of course the small ones are good for, those people who are moving from one place to another. You can put it in the pocket. And then some 1,000 for those who are in the shops so that they can also sanitize themselves and the people when they exchange cash. Because cash is one of the easiest way to transmit the virus.
But now, I saw photos of you on the ground. You're distributing all this. You're having your face mask on, and people are all around you. How are you able to work with your constituents during the pandemic like this, where we need also to maintain social distancing and at the same time help your people, because there is socio-economic effects of this pandemic?
It is very difficult for a member of parliament to actually visit his people or her people, and they don't have a crowding. What we are doing is sneak into our constituencies and sneak out of our constituencies, sneak into your home and out of your home.
You're sneaking into your own home?
You sneak into your home. So what we do, like I've been doing the launches in my own compound. I bring the staff at the house, and then we do the launch. Then we have an organized distribution system. First of all, I got in touch with the committee, the replica committee, the devolved committee on the ground, the emergency response committee of the sub-county, and we agreed very well on the distribution mechanism. We decided to use organized groups and then through their chairs. So it's only the chairs that we invite, and we put them on 1.5 meter sitting, and then we distribute these things to them. So we've been able to distribute the masks through such a process, and even the sanitizers we are distributing. And even the refilling of the sanitizers is arranged in such a way that the chairman collects all the bottles and brings them for refilling, and then he goes and distributes them.
What's the response from the people?
Extremely good. People are very happy about what we're doing, and they're very satisfied that at least we are participating at the time when they need us most. And I like to say that all of us should try to do something. Otherwise, all the members should try to do something, because people are expectant. They would like to.
But now, let me come back to Parliament.
Yes.
You say that there are some certain weaknesses that are there that also need to be addressed. What are the weaknesses that exist?
One of the weaknesses, or rather I would say is a challenge, is that we all cannot participate in the legislative process at the same time. Even if all members do not speak to a law, members have an opportunity to raise an objection or a point of order or correction when they are sitting in the floor. That doesn't happen because only 70 members can sit in the main house. One of the things we were imagining that probably the House leadership could have thought through is putting us in a big auditorium. There are some big auditoriums in this country.
Where?
Like Kasarani, the gymnasium. Gymnasium is very big.
Okay.
We have had a meeting, a Jubilee meeting there, and we were many thousands. And I believe there we can have social distancing, and all members can participate. All they need is to have mobile, mics, so that we are able to, participate in the legislative
The Kasarani
process.
Gymnasium.
Kasarani Gymnasium is a good example. It's a big hall. It's very large. And it's somewhere where we can actually sit freely and comfortably and do the work.
Have you brought this proposal to the
there was no opportunity for us to continue to do that because the House leadership has been meeting to make these discussions and make the decisions as it were, and then communicate the decisions through the Speaker's statement. There are other auditoriums, I believe, in this country which are much larger, much bigger. And I think the other challenge, which has really been brought by, and members have been talking about this, is the fact that people cannot congregate. Since social distancing has been approved as a norm, I want to strongly state that people need to be allowed now to open their churches. I think it is important. People need to start praying in their churches. You can have several services in a day, and you can still maintain the church social distancing. I don't think it is really very wise. And mosques, I think we should have open our worship centers. It is important.
I like that.
It is important because we are likely to degenerate into something very different, and yet we are very, God-fearing and adhering country.
All right. But you, in the move to pass legislation to combat this pandemic, it is understandable that the legislation has to continue. But the National Assembly and the Senate appear to be trying to outdo each other. And I would like to know what your take on that. You will answer that after we take this short break. So keep it. Good morning, Kenya. We are back in a bit. Welcome back. We are just continuing with our morning conversation right here on Good Morning Kenya. I am with Dr. John Mutunga, a Honorable Member of Parliament from Tigania West. And before we went for that break, I posed a question. Nikaona ukacheka kidogo. So I'm wondering, yes, we are in this COVID-19 pandemic. We're trying to fight it. But both houses of parliament, we talk about the National Assembly and the Senate, appear to be trying to outdo each other. What is your take on that?
Well, legislative making is free. Anybody can bring a bill to the House. However, the Senate concentrates on bills that touch on the counties as per the Constitution, and the National Assembly basically looks at all the bills. So when a bill originates from Senate, it will come to the National Assembly, or when it originates from National Assembly, which has any impact on the counties, it will go to the Senate. Money bills are made by and done by the National Assembly. So those bills do not go to the Senate. So apart from basically when it comes to resource allocation, the distribution, and so on, that is done by the National Assembly. So any member can actually originate, any house can originate a legislation in this country.
So you say this perceived notion that the houses are competing or trying to outdo each other?
That perception sometimes renders people, I mean, it brings in some dimensions. And sometimes, like last year, you remember how the Senate fought for increase of the revenue, of the money allocated through the revenue sharing bill, and that was misplaced because it's supposed to be 15% of the revenue that can be collected, and this is estimated. You see, you're looking at futures when future has got so many other things that can affect, collection of such revenue. So that is That one brings in division, which is really not supposed to be there.
It's not necessary.
Senate and National Assembly work together. They agree quite a lot on terms of bills. If there's any dispute, there's a dispute resolution committee formed by members from each of the houses, and they normally agree on the nitty-gritties and on the sound of words, if I may say that. Okay. How does it affect the people? Where do we need to, what do we need to change so that we are all comfortable? So Parliament operates as it were, as a single unit, but by camera.
All right, Mheshimiwa, because of the interest of time, what would be your final or your proposal moving forward in terms of how the country can be able to fight this pandemic with the help of all arms of government, including the legislature?
There is need for serious consultation between all the arms of government and agreement on the way forward. We should all play our roles effectively. I would like to allow Parliament, because once so many decisions were made, especially on the taxation laws, and they needed to be amended, Parliament took it upon itself to do it quite quickly and amend those laws in sync with what the executive had done. The legislature, the Parliament needs to, management, let me say the House leadership needs to consider opportunities where everybody can participate in lawmaking. Although the situation is difficult, I think they can look for possibilities of bringing everyone on board so that people can feel satisfied to participate in the legislative process. And of course, there are very, very, very many other things that are happening. There's so much politics in Parliament right now. But I would like to mention one thing. Having come from Mount Kenya East, I don't think it is necessary to drag in Kindiki. I want to specifically mention Senator Kindiki into those camps that are happening. I don't think it's necessary at all.
It's uncalled for.
It is not necessary because somebody has brought in Kangata, Senator Kangata has brought in a bill, a motion. He has notice of a motion to impeach him, for having failed to attend a meeting.
All right. Now,
I want to say that attending or failing to attend a meeting is not really, one meeting in so many years should not be taken that seriously.
It does not hold water for his impeachment.
There is misuse of power in that house.
All right. Yes. Now, Mheshimiwa, hapo umeingia siasa. And I would like us to talk about another day, talk about politics in regards to this. Your thoughts in regards to, Senator Kindiki's impeachment motion, whether it will pass through. But just as a yes or a no, will it pass through? Yes or a no?
It won't pass through.
It won't pass through.
It will be very difficult for them to garner the numbers.
All right. Thank you very much. That is Honorable Dr. John Mutunga, Member of Parliament for Tigania West, discussing the effects of COVID-19 on legislature. This is The Viewpoint.